The film opens with Enola Holmes on the run from the local police. When she arrives in an alley, she turns to the audience and tells them how she got into this situation. Since her last adventure, Enola has started her own detective agency, but she has not been able to break free from the shadow of her more famous brother Sherlock. Her mother Eudora is also still on the run as Tewkesbury continues his crusade for reform in England. And although Enola misses him, she says she has no time for distractions. Enola is visited by a young girl named Bessie, who asks her to find her missing foster sister, Sarah Chapman. Bessie takes Enola to her house, which is next to a match factory where orphan girls are forced to work. Enola meets May, an older, gruff girl who does not approve of Bessie asking her for help because of Sarah. Enola searches the girl's room for clues and finds a note that says March 12 and believes it is a date. Bessie also informs Enola that Sarah has gotten into an argument with the factory foreman, Mr. Crouch, who claims Sarah stole something from his office. Enola follows Bessie to the match factory to pose as a new worker. Using a red herring, she sneaks into Crouch's office, where she finds factory owners Henry and Hilda Leon and their son William in a meeting with Lord Charles McIntyre, the finance minister, and his secretary Mira Troy. Enola finds a book with pages that Sarah has torn out and taken with her. She also finds old matches that had red tips instead of the white ones the girls use. At night, Enola follows May to the Paragon Theater, where May has a second job as a stage performer with a troupe of other women. When Enola investigates in the dressing room, May confronts her with a knife, but she does not give Enola any information about what Sarah was doing in Crouch's office. However, she manages to get the stage manager to talk, since Sarah also worked there and was with a mystery man. The manager gives Enola a poem that Sarah received. As Enola walks alone, she is followed by a man with a stick. She walks faster until she meets Sherlock, who is thrown out of a pub because he is too drunk to stand alone and needs Enola's help to get home. After taking Sherlock home, Enola sees a board in his office about his last case, which leaves him perplexed. In the morning, Sherlock concludes from the residue under her fingernails that Enola worked at the match factory, and he worries that she is in danger. Enola leaves and later meets Tewkesbury in the park, where it becomes clear that they still have feelings for each other. She looks at the poem again and realizes that it is a coded message that reveals a location in Whitechapel. Enola arrives at the address and finds signs of a struggle. She then comes across May, who is dying from a stab wound. Despite her efforts to help her, May does not make it. On her, Enola finds a sheet of music titled The Truth of the Gods. She is then found by Inspector Lestrade, who shows up with Superintendent Grail, the man who chased Enola the night before. Grail accuses Enola of killing May, and when he questions her further, she kicks him in the abdomen and runs away, leading to the opening scene in which she is pursued by police officers. She escapes and hides back at Sherlock's place after Lestrade pays him a visit. Enola questions him about his current case, and Sherlock admits that it involves bribery and extortion of government officials, but he cannot conclude the source of these crimes. When she shares her findings with him, Sherlock decides to solve the Sarah case as well, and urges Enola not to neglect her personal feelings. While the two Holmes siblings search for clues, Sherlock goes to the apartment where May was murdered, and Enola finds clues based on flower names, and she finds the name Sweet William. Enola learns that a ball is taking place where she might find Sarah's lover, so she goes undercover. When she tries to talk to the Lyons family, she is rebuffed for speaking without a chaperone. Enola eventually meets Mira, who is kind to her and gives her a fan to impress the other guests. She meets Tewkesbury and asks him to help her learn to dance. Upon closer inspection, she finds that Sweet William refers to none other than William Leon. She dances with him to learn more about Sarah, but William tells her that they are being watched. At the same time, Tewkesbury is dancing with another girl named Cicely, whom Enola has met. Meanwhile, Sherlock realizes that he has deciphered a message based on his clues. "Nice to meet you, Sherlock Holmes." And that he has found a name based on the account numbers he has collected, Moriarty. Enola is arrested at the ball in front of everyone and brought in for questioning by Grail. He tells her not to interfere further in Sarah's case, whereupon Enola realizes that he is working for someone bigger. Sherlock wants to bail Enola out, but Grail tries to hold her with his supposed evidence. Sherlock counters with his own findings from the crime scene, discovering that one of the guards at the station may have been involved in May's murder and seemingly suspecting Grail's own involvement. Sherlock has no choice but to ask Eudora and Edith for help as Enola is taken to a women's prison. The ladies stage an escape and take Enola with them. As they escape, the women use smoke bombs to throw off the pursuing guards. Enola talks to Eudora about the case after learning that the match girls at the factory died of an alleged typhoid disease. Grail takes up the chase and crashes the ladies in their carriage. He tries to have all three arrested, but they kick the guards' butts and escape again. Enola then tearfully separates from Eudora again so she can complete her mission. Enola returns to Bessie and finds traces of red and white match tips near flower pots. She suspects that the white tips contain phosphorus, which is the real cause of death for the girls at the factory. Enola asks Tewkesbury for help, but has to hide when Cicely shows up, having already worked with Tewkesbury on the case. Slowly, Enola realizes that Cicely is really Sarah, and that William was her secret lover. Before they set out to solve the case further, Enola and Tewkesbury confess their love for each other. Enola and Tewkesbury go to the factory, where Enola meets Sherlock. He tells her that their two cases are connected, and he has found a reason to prove her innocence in May's murder. They find William dead in a chair, also murdered. Enola finds clues that suggest Lord McIntyre colluded with William's father and saved money by replacing the match tips with the cheap phosphorus that killed the girls. Using more clues from the sheet music, the siblings and Tewkesbury figure out that they are being led to the Paragon Theatre. The heroes meet Sarah at the theater, where Enola has to break the news of William's death to her. Sarah has a list of the girls killed by the phosphorus to make sure they get justice. They are found by Grail and his thugs, with Grail holding a knife to Bessie's throat. Bessie bites his hand and runs away, leading to a fight between the heroes and the villains. Sherlock and Tewkesbury fight the villains while Enola is pursued by Grail. During the fight, Enola grabs Grail by the groin with a hook and pulls him upward, causing him to hit his head against a wooden beam and break his neck before falling down dead. McIntyre and his own goons show up with Lestrade, and he orders Sarah arrested. Enola and Sherlock then gather all the information and conclude that Mira, aka Moriarty, was the mastermind behind everything. She tried to blackmail McIntyre and the Lions, but things got complicated when William stole her contract and she hired Grail to cover her tracks, resulting in May and William being killed for getting too close to exposure. Lestrade arrests Moriarty, but McIntyre burns the list with the girls' names to save his own skin. Enola returns to the factory with Bessie and Sarah, where they uncover the girls' deaths and lead a revolt against Crouch and the other employers. The girls leave the factory in protest, which Eudora and Edith observe and know that Enola is responsible. Sherlock visits Enola and hands her a newspaper stating that Tewkesbury helped gather enough evidence to have McIntyre arrested. While Sherlock offers her a partnership, Enola declines, but agrees that they should meet every Thursday at 4 p.m. As she leaves, Sherlock is picked up by Edith, who gives him a newspaper revealing that Moriarty has escaped custody and is at large. Enola then goes out on a date with Tewkesbury. During the credits, a man shows up at Sherlock's flat answering an ad for a roommate. Despite initial hesitation, Sherlock invites the man in. When asked his name, the man replies, Dr. John Watson. I hope you guys enjoy this movie explain video and subscribe to our channel for more.